Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. We're talking Disney. Shares down about 17% from year-ago levels, off about 7% so far this year. Joe, I wanted to get your take here. The company, since Bob Iger's gotten back, they've made some cuts as far as expenses go, but at the same time, they just announced that they're going to spend $60 billion over 10 years for their parks and entertainment. As their Disney Plus continues to bleed money here. What's your take here on Disney and the sell-off that we've seen recently?
It's a major shift of focus, guys. I mean, Iger came back and he said, look, we're not generating the revenue and the profits from our entertainment business, the movies, the backlog with Disney Plus. So what we need to do is shift that focus and move back into the higher margins that we're getting from the parks. And the parks are continually busy. You got cruise lines at 98% capacity. That is where Disney is performing, and he is just shifting those dollars to those high-performing areas.
Yeah, Alex, this hasn't been good for a lot of brands recently. Big name brands. Starbucks has been sliding. Disney's been sliding. Nike prior to earnings. Mm-hmm. These have all been pretty much hit across the board. But when you look at this stock, 3.5-year lows, you got to figure, parts of their business are doing really well, but they just can't seem to get out of the weeds.
I think Nike is a good example. You don't need great to be better than what's expected right now. And I think that's the key takeaway for me when I look at this name. Historically, this carries about a 23-24 forward PE ratio in the last couple of years, sort of the Disney Plus era, let's call it, for Disney. We're down to 16.5 right now. So you don't even necessarily need earnings to be better than expected. If they just kind of come in as expected, you could make an argument that Disney, relative to its recent historical levels, is underpriced at these levels. And so I look at Disney, and I think Joe's point's the proper one, which is, look, they looked at this, made a very critical assessment of themselves, and realized, like, as cool as this streaming business and necessary as it is, it hasn't turned profitable largely yet for the firm. When you compare their legacy businesses in entertainment, they're not doing great. The bread and butter right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, is the parks and entertainment business. That was always the bread and butter for Disney. And so while maybe the pandemic forced them to look other ways while they had to, it's time to look back at what actually pays the bills at Disney. I think it's a good thing that they're doing that, but it doesn't go without expenses. I think that's the critical piece that you're referring to, which is recent spending plans. But you have to invest in those experiences. You can't take for granted your consumers. We've been talking about for several months now, Disney offering discounts and stuff in the holiday season. While some of that's just murmurs and rumor mill, that's concerning for a company that
historically doesn't do that.
Historically doesn't do that, but historically is a best-in-class experience. So if they're offering promotions, either they're losing out to competitors for dollars, or there is concerns for the consumer in the next few months.
Yeah, I think that's a big concern, especially with oil prices up so much, inflation sticky at this point.